and it's time to start the webinar, the joint webinar of X-Cart and Kount. Today we will be speaking about online fraud and about common techniques the fraudsters use, and Kyle Allred, our expert from Kount, will explain our X-Cart merchants how to protect themselves against the online fraud. So Kyle, will you please step in and start your presentation?
Certainly, yes. Thank you for the introduction, Ksenia, and thanks everybody for joining our webinar today. Really looking forward to speaking with you all. And throughout the webinar, if you all do have any questions during the webinar, feel free to submit them here in the chat request to Ksenia. And if you have any questions during the presentation where you might like to look at something deeper, or to go back a slide if you didn't understand, please submit those, and we can stop and review that. So, without further ado, we'll get going here. So as Ksenia said, my name is Kyle Allred. I'm the Channel Partner Sales Manager at Kount, and I work with our wonderful partners such as X-Cart. And we have a very good working relationship with X-Cart, and in fact, I was able to meet some of the team at shop.org or IRCE this year, and had a lot of fun. Took them out to a baseball game, and yeah, we had a good time getting to know each other. So thanks X-Cart for being great partners, and appreciate you inviting me to this webinar. So who is Kount? Well, let me explain something to you here. So boost sales, beat fraud. Whoops. This is essentially our motto, okay? Because anybody in the marketplace can help to beat fraud. They can help mitigate fraud. But in doing so, you can also decrease your sales. So of course, from a merchant perspective, you want to increase your sales. So that's where Kount comes in to help by systematically boosting sales and at the same time beating fraud. So I'll tell you real quick who Kount is. So we are a 7-year-old company with 16 years of experience. And what that means is our technology dates back to 1998. And that was when our founder, there were some issues in the marketplace. They were running a company, and they were looking for a fraud solution to help mitigate the fraud that they were getting hammered with. And he found there just really wasn't anything in the marketplace that could solve that problem. So him being a very smart, intelligent guy, he actually used to work for the NSA, and just a very, very intelligent programmer, very high-level programmer. He developed this Kount, the technology that we now call Kount, back in 1998. And then in the year 2007, they actually took that solution to market and made it a standalone company. And we currently have 28, and actually I believe 29 patents now, and patents pending within the fraud industry. And many other companies out there are actually using Kounts. They're using our patents. So when we talk about how Kount was founded, it was created by a merchant for merchants. Okay, so it was really the core of our technology comes from a merchant and developed specifically for other merchants. So we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Kinetics. They're our parent company. We have roughly 50, I think we're close to 60 plus employees now. We safeguard some of the world's largest merchants, payment service provider, and e-commerce platforms. So here's I really like this slide because this shows you our customer base, some examples of customers, and we really span the entire marketplace, from physical goods to digital goods, from small merchants to Fortune 10 companies like Staples, who's the 3rd largest online retailer in the world. So we cover verticals from ticketing, agencies, United Airlines, telecom. Burton Snowboard's one of my favorite because I'm a snowboarder, so I really like that they're one of our customers. But yeah, our customer base spans every single vertical, and we can help any client, any customer in any vertical. So let me go ahead and give you some market background and trends on fraud and what's going on in the industry, so you'll have an understanding of what is going on and also what to look out for in your current business. So some of the marketplace trends that are happening right now, as we know, consumers are continuing to make purchases online. E-commerce is growing. year over year, and versus the brick and mortar stores. So what happens is those fraudsters follow, because it's a lot easier to go and commit fraud online than it is to go in a store and steal and use fake credit cards, that sort of thing. And so these fraudsters are becoming more sophisticated. They're becoming smarter. I'm going to actually show you a fraud ring, but these, we're working with, or we're dealing with PhD level fraudsters. These guys are very intelligent, and this is their business, is fraud. And that's, they, just like you have a business in whatever it is that you're doing online, their business is fraud, and they're going to continue to increase and push the envelope and get smarter and smarter. Now there's a new, and if you're outside of America and in Europe, then you're probably familiar with EMV, which is also known as chip and pin. As there's this new the chip and pin push in America, we're going to see an increase in fraud, and that is because these fraudsters are now going anywhere from offline. They're taking all their fraud online, and we know that the card not present fraud in Europe increased from 30 to 60%, 62% in 2012, and that's going to continue to rise. And in 2015, when EMV is supposed to be mandated and everywhere in America, we're going to see a huge increase in fraud in America. So Kount, we're here to help mitigate that. As a merchant, you're continually looking for data. You need that data so that you can market to your customers better, so that you can better understand your customers, to know how to sell to them, what products to offer them. You can utilize Kount and the data that we provide to do that. So there's really two types of businesses out there. There's those that have been hit by fraud, and there's those that will be hit by fraud. It's just inevitable. I just want to share with you a really brief story about myself personally. I started an e-commerce company in 2007 selling radio control helicopters and parts online. And I had been selling, it had been a very short period of time. I was using PayPal to process my payments. And pretty soon I got hit with a fraudulent order. I'd already shipped out the product, and it came back, and I got this chargeback. So I called PayPal, and what is this? What's going on here? And I was a brand new business owner. I literally had no idea what I was really doing online. I was just shooting from the hip. And so they said, oh yes, that's a chargeback. Somebody created, somebody went and they placed a fraudulent order, and now they want their money back. And I said, well, so what do I do? Well, you can fight it, or otherwise you just have to give back that money. So I ended up losing that case, and so I paid back the money that the customer gave me, as well as I lost out on the money of that product. So even from a small, brand new business, I very quickly had to deal with fraud, as I'm sure many of you have as well. As merchants, you're trying to continue to keep up with fraud. You need to protect your bottom line. You need to protect your customers. Okay. Most merchants out there, or typical merchants, they'll use up to 8 fraud prevention detection tools, which can be very cumbersome. Okay. We want that's old method, old thinking there. Really coming into now, and where Kount comes into play and help is reducing that down to having one overall overarching fraud prevention tool. As many of you know, manual reviews of suspect transactions, they're very costly and time consuming. You can spend we've talked to customers who literally spent 30 minutes reviewing one order just to see if it was a real order or if it was indeed fraudulent. And that can be very costly. It takes manpower, and it's just a real drain on your productivity. Most of the time, merchants, they don't even realize that they're being attacked by fraudsters until they get their chargeback report, which can be anywhere from 30 to 90 days later. Just like what happened to me, it was a long time after I had placed this person had placed the order, and then I get hit with this chargeback. I had no idea what was going on. And that's usually the progression of how these chargebacks occur within the industry. As e-commerce continues to increase, like I was saying earlier, there's going to be an increase in fraudulent activity, and these fraudsters move very fast. They understand the industry, and they can very quickly adapt and to the changes in the marketplace to better penetrate e-commerce businesses and really, in the end, make their money. Now, just like you are an expert in your business, whatever it is that you sell. You're not an expert in fraud, and you shouldn't be. You have enough to deal with, okay? And so nobody expects you to be a fraud expert. You know, that's where Kount really comes into play. Now, I just want to make sure everybody can see that. Okay, all right, perfect. Now let's go through recognizing some symptoms of fraud. Now, keep in mind, look at your business and what you've experienced, what you've seen, and you may not even know really if you have a fraud problem, or you may know but you don't quite understand what's going on. That's where a lot of times when people come to us, they don't even understand they have a problem, or they do understand, hey, there's something going on, but they don't know what's going on. They can't penetrate and to see what the underlying issue is of this fraud. So here's a couple key points to take away. You have a chargeback rate above 0.5% or 50 basis points. You're having a return rate higher than 1%, rejection rate higher than 1%. You're having a significant abandonment after you're having transactions submitted. Also, if you're dealing with affiliates, you may have a high affiliate turnover, and that's because you may be catching fraudsters, an affiliate fraudster, and then they come back as another affiliate, which you're not even aware that it's a new affiliate. You may be having manual reviews above 1 to 2%, and if you do have any sort of fraud solution in place, you might have many rules. We talked to a very large online merchant, and they literally had thousands of rules set up in their fraud solution, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I can't imagine having to manage that. And as I get into explain Kount, I'll tell you what our average rules are at for our customers, which is between 15 to 25. So here's some of the types of fraud, which many of you I'm sure are familiar with. If not, you're familiar with all of them. We've all heard of botnets and of course malware. One of the greatest, I think, these fraudsters are highly intelligent, and I always thought, man, if they would just put their intelligence to good use, I wonder what they would be able to create, what kind of products they would be able to create in the marketplace. Well, there's a product out there you guys might have even been attacked before, where you are infected, your computer gets infected by this malware, and it says, hey, put in your credit card number in order to remove, we'll go in and remove this, you have viruses on your computer, that sort of thing. And many people, they'll put in their credit card number and whatnot. These fraudsters now get this credit card number, then they remove that that malware from the computer, the user's computer, or they say they do, but really it's still on their computer, and they just got this credit card number via a malware that, or this program that they say is legitimate to purchase to get rid of malware, but in reality it's just the fraudsters program. So these types of frauds are very prevalent in the industry. Account takeover is another very large problem, and affiliate fraud is another huge problem. I've been in affiliate marketing myself since 2009, and the number of affiliates that are committing fraud against companies is just astronomical. And to step back 1 second, the company, our parent company, where or our sister company that that our fraud solution was developed by, that's their bread and butter, is that they deal in the affiliate space. So we're very familiar with affiliate marketing and how to catch fraudsters there. I just like this little picture here of what does a fraudster look like. Well, it can look like anybody really. So you may have heard of this, but there's this remote town in Romania that it became and it still is cybercrime central, where literally the town is built upon. They have so many fraudsters there that they're known for this, and they have set up restaurants, they've set up car dealerships, and etc. All to essentially provide services to these fraudsters because it's such big business there. Now here's a fraud ring, an example of a fraud ring that got caught, and these fraud rings go very deep. They're very complex. They're ever reaching throughout the globe, as we have heard in the media. So you'll have people all over the world working together systematically to create this fraud ring. As you can see here, here's just an example of fraud throughout the world. So the cost of fraud to a merchant can be very high. As a merchant, you're trying to deploy more tools, trying to compete with this increasing fraud threat. Well, the more tools you have, the increased complexity and the increased costs that you're going to experience. Over 50% of all chargebacks are the direct result of fraud. So huge number there that you can prevent. And refunds many times, like I was saying earlier in my situation, they can be equal to or greater than the cost of chargeback, especially if you have physical goods that you're shipping out to customers and you experience it. That can really hit your bank account hard. The average order rejection rate in the US is between 2.4% and significantly higher internationally, 7.8%. So those orders that you're rejecting, while some of them may be fraudulent, there's many good orders in there as well, and that's where the Boost Sales Beat Fraud acronym comes into play. The management that for your team, that cost can make up to 70% of fraud prevention. The reviews, escalating the suspect transactions, going through that process. So 70% is a huge, that's a huge number, and that's costing your business a lot of money. So currently, how do merchants deal with fraud in the marketplace? And you may be, this may be you. You may be one of these individuals who have experienced this or are doing this. We have customers coming to us, they were getting hit with affiliate fraud, so they just turn it off. We're not going to do affiliate marketing anymore. Yet that's a very large, significant, it can be a very significant amount of revenue from affiliates. They'll turn off IP addresses. That's what I did in my business personally. I said, I'm no longer going to accept orders from the Philippines or Malaysia because it seemed like 3 out of 4 orders I was getting from there were fraudulent. Now I on occasion did get good orders, but for the most part they were bad orders, and so I just turned off, hey, I'm not accepting any more orders from here. But in the process I did now reject good customers, and so that's potential revenue sitting out there that I wasn't able to capture. We have many customers who they don't go outside of their local markets, such as the US or Canada, or they only sell to US and Canada because they're afraid of fraud. They don't want to expand into Europe and into Malaysia and the Philippines, or maybe some of these other high risk areas, but yet there's plenty of potential customers, a lot of really good, a lot of revenue there that they can tap into. So that's really constraining your expansion of your business. And what they'll also do is having multiple merchant accounts for processing their payments to hide their chargebacks. So they'll go. I was talking to a partner of ours, and that's what their client was doing. They had 4 or 5 different merchant accounts, and so they would process with one, and then as soon as their chargeback rates or whatnot started to creep up, they'd switch over to the next merchant account, and et cetera down the line. And so that can be, costly, very time consuming as well, and to manage that. Merchants out there, they'll try to build their own custom fraud screening. They'll build their own in-house tools, or they'll deploy minimal fraud tools out there that really don't do an effective job. We've had customers come to us before where they developed the whole fraud system, the whole fraud solution. They come to us, we show them our system and walk them through it, and they almost feel embarrassed because they're like, wow, I've just spent all this money and time developing this fraud solution, and we're not even, a fourth of the way as good as this system, and you're a lot, less expensive than what we spent developing our in-house custom solution. And of course, the last part is just doing nothing and crossing your fingers and hoping that you don't have fraud. But as we all know, that's not going to happen. So here's another kind of expanding on how merchants deal with fraud. So these in-house tools you're either using simple rules, or you can have multiple point solutions. So these point solutions are just a one-off out there. Okay, it's just they do one thing and one thing good. So they'll go out and gather multiple point solutions, kind of cobble them together, and it just creates a very cumbersome platform to utilize. They're also having too few rules, and so the fraud rates are rising. They're having a lot of false positives because of those, and this requires more staff, more time to go in and review the orders, additional verification taking place. And the reality is that these tools, these point solutions, they are just not sophisticated enough to really streamline your decision for accepting good orders. Some of the marketplace offerings out there, as I just explained, these point solutions, they just focus on a few fraud technologies. They don't give you an entire comprehensive platform providing the analytics that we can provide to you and your business. And then the workbench providers out there, what they do is they provide an end-to-end solution, but their underlying fraud technologies that they have under their workbench, so to speak, these technologies are licensed from third parties, okay? So they don't even necessarily own the tools. So what can happen with that is that introduces latency, reliability, because they're relying on 10 different point solutions and making sure that, okay, I hope this guy, his uptime's good, and if this one goes down, then this is going to mess with the other point solution, and it just becomes a headache and a nightmare to manage. And of course, there's typically additional costs that goes along with that. So it really is just it's a band-aid situation. And as I explained earlier, merchants are not fraud experts. We don't expect you to be. You want to know, how can I reduce my fraud exposure? Do these fraud programs, do they negatively affect my sales? What should your chargeback rate be? Most people don't, many merchants don't know where should my chargeback rate be. That's where Kount comes in, and we help you understand that. We work with you on that. We help you understand, do you have a fraud strategy? Is it working? If not, here, let's implement a fraud strategy and let's make it work for you. We help you expand internationally. We go in and explain that, how to expand internationally, what markets you want to go into, etc. And as explained earlier with the affiliate programs, we can help ramp up affiliates as well. And if you're not currently doing any affiliate marketing, if you have products that are available for that, highly recommend exploring that, because the affiliate channel, the affiliate side of your business can be a very big revenue booster. So here we go. Here's how Kount helps clients reduce fraud. So we are the only company that own all of our tools and technology, okay? Everything under our platform is owned by us. We developed it all in-house. There's no third-party vendors to integrate with, and so we are less expensive, and we're also better. We're faster. We have the most accurate risk decision based on a larger data segment. So what that means is we're able to compile all those orders throughout the entire database, and we're able to assign a risk score based on that, as well as other factors, which I'll go into here shortly, which then for you as the merchant, that gives you fewer false positives and allows you to accept more orders. We have the fastest response time in the industry. What does that mean? That means that 250 to 350 milliseconds from the time your customer clicks checkout, it's hitting Kount. That process is seamless in the blink of an eye, 350 milliseconds back to the payment gateway, and that order is either processed or is declined depending on how your specific account is set up. This results in a better consumer shopping experience. We all know that if somebody is on your website, I know I do this, and if it's taking time and you sit there seeing the loading icon, it's 5 seconds, you're done. You're moving on to another site that doesn't take as long. And our average customer uses 16 rules. So that creates in a very user-friendly system and very easy to manage. And we can say we have the industry's best affiliate fraud management platform because that is our core. That's where we developed. That's where Kount was developed. So any questions from anybody this far? Ksenia, you can just you can let me know. Perfect.
Kyle, have you finished your presentation, or are you going to just to make
us? I was just curious if there were any so far, so I'll move on.
Oh, we've got the first question from Omar. How is this embedded?
Yeah, go ahead, Omar. What was that?
Kyle, please take a look into the chat room. The question is,
Okay.
how is this embedded? In the other words, how to integrate Kount with
Yep,
X-Cart, I guess, right?
we will. Yep, we will get into that, and Alex will be able to speak to that as well. So we will get into that, Omar. That's a great question. Thank you. It looks like okay, perfect. So let's look at this this slide right here, which really encompasses this is Kount. We're an all-in-one operational solution, okay? And there's three pieces to this. There's the fraud detection piece, there's the strategy management piece, and the operational management piece. So the first being the fraud detection, the most important, right? And that is the actual tool. That's actually Kount. That's where your orders assign a fraud score. We have order linking, and I can get into some of this here in a little bit. And device fingerprinting, where we can actually go in there and, you know, just like we all have a fingerprint, each device has a fingerprint. And so we can go in there and determine what the fingerprint is of that device to help with our cross order merchant linking, as well as assigning that count score. We can pierce the proxy so that if they're saying that, you know, this person is in, you know, the United States placing an order, we can pierce that proxy and determine that this person was actually located in Vietnam. We can determine that. We can read their device, so we can say, yes, this device has been located on 5 other websites and has already been flagged for fraud. This is a, you know, this is a known fraudster. Boom, that's going to increase the score, the count score, and I'll get into that as well here shortly. So all these different variables, we're running roughly 250 plus variables on every single order, and that's what you're able to take advantage of with Kount. So now moving on to the strategy management, what Kount helps do is we create and we manage a fraud strategy, okay? And this fraud strategy then dovetails in with your business needs, so that we can then go in and customize how Kount processes transactions based on your specific business rules, because every single business is different. Your business is going to be different than, you know, somebody that's even in the same vertical as you, but the way that you run things is going to be completely different. So we work with every single one of our merchants to actually help them understand, or we understand what their specific business needs are, and we help create those rules around them. We help them manage those rules. We basically hold your hand through the entire process. So you're not just left to, okay, what do I do with this tool? We actually walk you through everything and help you clearly understand the strategy behind it. And moving on to the next piece, the operational management side of things. So we have a support team, a comprehensive support team, 15 plus years of experience, and they go over the best practices to really maximize the operational efficiency. And this is a simple way, we help you understand a simple way to manage the flow of transactions through the system. And we help you understand how to interact with your risk managers and the critical business systems. So we go through, again, we hold your hand through this entire process until you are completely confident and comfortable with managing Kount in the back end and how it works, and how and setting up the rules and whatnot. And we're always here after the fact as well. So we continue to help. So now we get into my favorite part. This is actually kind of the meat and potatoes. These next couple slides are going to show you Kount and how it works. Okay, so we'll just take this this step by step. So we have the consumer. Okay, the consumer places the order with you, the merchant. From there, that goes out to Kount. We have our real-time analytics decision engine, and we're running, like I said, 250 plus variables. Here's some of them that are being ran in every single order. Then after that order, it's assigned a risk score from 1 to 99, 1 being the least risky, 99 being the most risky. Okay, we're taking all this information into account, the variable data that we get from running this analytics. We get merchant supply data. So for instance, if you have specific data that you want to supply for us, we can take that into account as well. So that's one of the beautiful things, is that you're able to supply this data, and it worked synergistically with Kount's, with our real-time analytics system. Now this then goes on to our risk decision rules engine, okay? And you'll see there's a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a hold. So this process can be completely automated, where what happens is if all the parameters are met, this order automatically goes through its decision and good order. Or if it doesn't meet the parameters that have been set in the rules, then this will get a thumbs down, okay, we decline this order automatically. The third piece being that, you know what, we're going to hold this order for a manual review because we want to go and dive deeper and look at this order to determine, is this a good order or not? Now, this being said, like I said, this can be it is completely automated, but the thumbs up, thumbs down, the go or the no go, as they say in the Army, piece of it, if you're selling a 99-cent download and you're like, you know what, we don't want to do any manual reviews. We don't care. It takes too much time. We don't want to waste time reviewing orders, especially if we only have to review 0.5% of our orders or whatnot. So we can make it so they say, okay, everything's either going to go through if it meets this threshold, or it's going to be declined if it meets this threshold. And easy as that. But if you're selling, maybe a $5,000 or $10,000 watch, for instance, which we have customers that do that, they're selling very expensive watches. Of course, you're going to want to take a little more time. Your rules, your thresholds are going to be different than the guy selling the 99-cent download. So you may be a little more cautious and say, we want to hold orders that meet these specific requirements, which may be a lot lower in terms of the fraud threshold than the guy doing the 99-cent download. So that's something we can customize with you. And as you see here on the slide, once the order's decision, go or no go, that whole process is seamless, takes 250 to 350 milliseconds. Then on the manual review side, what's even great about that is we can go in, so it gets held for review. We have an auto agent, okay? This auto agent then goes in, this is all automated, and it's looking at third-party data, merchant supply data. This then is all shifted over to our auto agent's rules engine, and from there it says, yep, this passed all of our parameters. We're giving this a thumbs up. Boom, the order goes on back to the merchant, it's processed. Even then, that takes 1 to 3 seconds, so still very quick. And then at that point, if it doesn't meet this specific criteria, that order then is held for manual review. From that point, that goes into the workflow queue manager, and that's where we train your team and help you understand, how do I go about reviewing this order? What are the specific metrics I need to look at to go in and do a manual review? The beauty of Kount is that, like I was saying earlier, doing manual reviews can be very time consuming. We've talked to people, they're going out there, they get an order, and I know this from experience as well. You get an order, pretty soon you're on Google, you're typing in this person's name, you're typing in this person's email address, you're typing in their location, and you're trying to get a picture of, who is this person? Oh yeah, they're on this forum, here's their name, okay, this guy looks good, or what, I can't find any information on this individual, I don't know what to do, should I let the order go through or not? So with Kount, all that information, that detailed information, is all contained in our user interface, what we call our agent web console. Okay, so that information can allow you to very quickly decision an order in as little as 30 seconds, and at max, typically for our customers, is taking 2 minutes. So instead of taking 10 minutes or 30 minutes or whatnot, you can review this order in as little as 30 seconds, to a minute or two. Very, very quick, very fast. So this next slide is going to give you, this is just a graphic showing how our order linking works within Kount. So here we have this first part where we have the device, we have the credit card, and we have an email address, okay? This person goes on, they place an order. So this order specifically was linked to a prior transaction by direct association. So with Kount, we can detect and say, you know what, this device has been we've found 8 different credit cards that have been linked to this device. Okay, there's this individual has used 9 different devices and 10 different emails. We can go in and look at our entire merchant database, so you're able to take advantage of our entire user database by indirect association to help determine if this person is a fraudulent order. For instance, let's say you're selling office supplies, okay? Well, this fraudster, maybe he went on staples.com or one of our other e-commerce platforms. He made an order, that order went through, then he made another order, then they found out and they caught him. He's a fraudster, so he gets flagged in our system. And then this guy moves on from Staples, and now he's at your website, and he tries to do the same thing. Well, automatically, it's going to be a red flag because he's already a known fraudster who's been linked by indirect association to another one of our merchants. So you're able to really take advantage of that huge database. Really, this linking technology, it is one of the most significant advances in fraud mitigation in the last decade, and it has just helped really, really, you know, help to mitigate fraud and the losses that merchants have experienced. So up to this point, I just want to see if there's any questions, and then I'm going to go through a couple case studies just to show you guys some of our current clients and some of their successes and whatnot, and then we'll open it up at the end for more questions and answers. So yes, any questions at this point?
Kyle, Omar
Well,
has
yep, I see Omar. So when we're talking about devices, Omar, these are specifically. Yep. So we're talking about the device that the individual's on, and I couldn't even tell you the number. I mean, every single order has a device. So the phone, laptop, tablet, etc. I mean, I don't know the number. I'm sure there's millions and millions. But when you say many of your customers are in emerging markets, yeah, that's one of our bread and butter is helping people to understand and mitigate the fraud in these emerging markets. So I hope that helped answer your question some. Looks like somebody else is. Oh, that was Kishenya. So yeah.
Yes, Kyle. One of the questions about geographic areas, since you were speaking about Malaysia,
Say one
and
more time.
now you were speaking about Malaysia and Philippines. Now Omar is asking about the emerging markets. Thus, the question is about specific geographic areas where the fraud is more likely to happen.
There definitely is, and off the top of my head, I can name a couple. But what we do is when we walk through with our clients and help them understand where these areas are. We have been able to pinpoint them, and so because obviously we've dealt with so much fraud that yes, we pinpointed these geographic areas where the fraud is more than others. And I think a lot of us might know some of them already, with of course Philippines, Malaysia. Eastern Europe. There's areas in there as well, but those are just a few of the examples. But in particular, with our account managers, we walk through that to say, yep, here are the markets. Here's the areas where the fraud is significant. So yeah, I'll move on and go through a couple of these case studies, and then at the end we'll open it up again for questions and answers. So this is one of my personal favorite case studies. So CD Baby, they are one of the world's largest online distributor of independent music. Okay, and what they do is they help artists sell to iTunes, Amazon, Facebook. So they help them sell everywhere. These artists, they pay out 75% commissions. Very, that's a great commission. Many 50% or whatnot. So they're paying out 75% commissions. Over $200 million in commissions paid. Now they had fraudulent artists and affiliates. They were experiencing a huge amount of fraud. 2.5% chargeback rate, $26,000 loss in 1 month. And what was happening is their reputation, it literally was at stake with some of their brands, their partner brands. They had to solve this problem immediately, or they were going to be in some, as we'd say, some deep doo-doo. So let's go through what was going on. It just blows my mind. And this is affiliate fraud. So what's going on is these fraudsters were getting on CD Baby. They'd pose in an artist. They'd post music for sale on cdbaby.com. And this music that they had, it was stolen music. Okay, so they'd go and steal the music, post it on CD Baby. Then what they would do, either themselves or one of their, somebody in their network, they would go and join as an affiliate. Okay, because they're going to receive 75% commission. Then they'd use stolen credit card information. They'd go on there and they'd purchase the stolen music from the fraudster that put it on there. Both two fraudsters now. And then what was happening was CD Baby was paying a royalty to the artist, right? Because they have to pay a royalty to every artist. So now this fraudster is making money, getting paid for his money, his music that he stole, and then they're going out and paying a commission to the affiliate as well. So it's just these guys are double dipping. I mean, they really had this down well. And then CD Baby, they have to pay huge fines, huge chargebacks, and they didn't know what was going on. They just couldn't figure it out. So they implemented Kount. Okay, we were able to go in and link all these orders up together and very quickly determine, like, yeah, you've got this fraud ring, you've got these guys who are systematically attacking your website, they're creating all this fraud. Let's shut them down. So we help reduce their losses from $200,000 annually to just $850 a month. I mean, huge, significant savings. From that point on, they were able to have cleaner iTunes orders. They developed a better relationship with their partners and their customers. We helped them reduce their fraud by 96% with no revenue loss. And then in the interim, what that helped do is they were now able to expand into new markets and countries. So, Kount very quickly helped them reduce their fraud and determine what was going on. So another one of our great customers, Reed's Jewelers, and they're a huge advocate of ours. We really work with them a lot, and we refer clients out to them to speak to them, and they're just a really great advocate of Kount. Here's their situation. They again were getting hammered by fraud, and what was going on, they had an order rejection rate of 25%. So here's a classic example of a customer who is doing a lot of like manual reviews, right? Because they're selling jewelry, they're selling high dollar ticket items. Some of these items are thousands and thousands of dollars, so they're being very scrupulous in who they're going to let who they're accepting as a customer and an order. So these manual reviews became a big drag on productivity, and they knew they had to figure something out. They knew there was a better way to do this. They got hit by this big spike in fraud, which kind of prompted them to then come out and say, we got to figure this out. We got to nip this in the butt now. Their current techniques, they just weren't scaling with the business. Costs are rising, and they didn't really have a strategy. So they went out there and started looking for fraud management solutions. They came to Kount, implemented our solution. I think it took them about 2 weeks to actually do the total implementation. After they selected us, they launched with just a few specific rules, okay? And we were able to help them reduce 80% fewer bad transactions. They had an 85% reduction in time spent on manual review. This right there is just a huge time saver. Huge. I mean, that's, the manual reviews are just sucking their time, their energy, their money. We were able to help them increase their sales, boost their sales in the past 14 months, and they were able to gain an additional 2,300 orders for $500,000 in additional revenue. So I'm sure every single one of us here would like to have $500,000 in additional revenue. I know I would like to. So they should have given that money to whoever figured it out, because he kind of deserved it. So they were able to increase their bottom line 8 to 9%. So very quickly they were able to take advantage of Kount and utilize our technology. Another great case study is Busted Tees. They came to us, they had a high chargeback rate, 2+%. Their growth was really slow due to fraud. The internal system they had developed, again, here's an example of a customer who tried to develop their own fraud system. It really wasn't reducing their risk. Again, we're approaching manual reviews, reducing their sales conversions, and they didn't even have that much internal info of their customers. So they were able to implement Kount, again, in about less than 2 weeks. They monitor and customize these rules over about 6 weeks. They worked with us on the business strategies, the reporting features of Kount. They enacted these new tactics, all with our help and hand-holding along the way. They were able to reduce their chargebacks to the lowest they had ever encountered in their business, which is under 0.25%. Their manual reviews were reduced. They had new markets. The opportunities increased because of the data that they were able to see from Kount, which I'll go into that here in just a sec. And they saw as much as a 30 to 40% increase in sales. So I'm sure every single person would love to have 30 to 40% increase in sales. Now, here where they're talking about, they added 30 high-risk markets. What was going on was they were able to add these high-risk markets because they started to see sales coming in from here that before they hadn't really been able to monitor. They didn't really, they didn't have a system to monitor that. And because of our reporting features and the analytics and the data that you get from Kount, it's actually a very good business tool as well. So marketing, and operations really like to see Kount and how are we going to actually add to their bottom line. They were getting a big increase in sales from German customers. And so they started targeting Germany, and they saw a growth of 40 to 50% in the German market. So huge increase. And as Adam Schwartz says here, the fraud was literally, it was costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in lost revenue, stolen merchandise, and chargeback fines. So those are three great examples of some of our merchants in different verticals who implemented Kount and were able to see very quickly and reduce their chargebacks, reduce their fraud, boost their sales, all through utilizing our technology and our team. So in summary, let's just go through. There's several data points that can help determine fraud. Managing the fraud, it really requires a complete, comprehensive strategy. Okay. Strategy, not more tools. So it's not like, oh, let's go get this other tool. Oh, now we need to get this other tool. Pretty soon you got 10, 12 tools. You're trying to make them all fit together and work. Doesn't work. And your fraud management, it should not be inhibiting your ability to sell. Okay, it really should actually allow you to expand into new markets and have the confidence to expand into these new markets, because you can go in there knowing I have a solution that that I know is protecting me. I know it's protecting my company and my bottom line. So I'm going to go in here unafraid to expand into a new market. And I know that when I go into that new market, I have the Kount team to help me build a strategy to go into that market and understand, okay, what's the fraud problems that they've had in the past? How do we expand into this market? What things do we need to do? What kind of rules do we need to create? That's the benefit of utilizing Kount. Okay, your fraud management, it does not need to be a cost center. It needs to be a profit center. So that's it. If there's any questions, please feel free to submit them on here, and I'd love to help you guys out and answer any questions. I see a couple here.
Yes, Kyle. I wonder how does the data sheet looks like when the merchant receives an order which was marked as manual approval required, or you called it on hold.
Yeah.
So
no, that's a great question, and we're running short on time, so we're not going to get into that here. But that kind of leads into my next slide here. And I just threw this out here just because, hey, we all like getting free stuff. So if anybody wants to have a demo of it, then what we're going to do is, when you have scheduled a demo, we'll be able to actually go in and show you what that looks like. What does the user interface look like? What does the reporting features look like? What am I actually seeing? And I will tell you this, that it blew me away when I first saw it. It has I'm sure most of us here are very familiar, has a very Google Analytics-esque feel to it. So it's very easy to navigate and very clean, just looks great, and it's very easy to utilize. So yep, if anybody does want to schedule a demo, please contact me, and we'll schedule a demo, and then I can send you a $25 gift card to your choice of Amazon or Starbucks. So no, that's a great question, Ksenia, because everybody definitely likes to see what that looks like. So any other questions? Does the tool, so Omar asked, does the tool provide our dev team to know where we can improve our securities? So Omar, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're saying that by utilizing Kount, which is, so it's not a tool, it's actually a whole entire solution. Is it going to help you understand where you can improve your securities from a website standpoint, in terms of where your hey, we might see some holes here in your actual website, or are you talking about just in terms of the fraud that you're experiencing? I guess I just want to make sure I understand that. Yeah, no, we don't. From my understanding, Omar, that's not really what we operate in terms of where your the holes are in your website. Now, honestly, I've never gotten that question, so I may be wrong, but I can definitely get back to you on that. But we don't operate in terms of looking at the website to see what holes there are in terms of securities. We really operate in the environment of the fraud that's going on and how to mitigate that, reduce that. So hopefully that helps there. But that's a great question, Omar. And now you got me wondering. That would definitely be a question for my tech team, which after this I can find out and let you know. So question about integrating with websites. Okay, so Alex, if you're on here, I'll let you take over that, but and I'll explain it, my understanding, and Alex, I'm sure, can take it even deeper. But because Kount, we're already integrated with X Payments, which is great. So it's really easy to implement Kount if you're using X Payments, because once you sign up and get an actual merchant ID account with us, then you plug that account into X Payments. They turn it on their end. Then the only other thing you need to do is to put 5 lines of HTML code on your checkout page, and that's it. So Alex, if you want to take over there and explain it, maybe that was a simplified version for me.
Okay, I'm here. So first of all, I want you to quit sharing screen in order to let me do the same.
Yes, Kyle.
Okay.
Only one screen share.
I quit sharing.
Yeah. So in X-Cart world, integration with Kount is implemented via X Payments PADSS certified payment extension, and the reason is because credit card data is involved, and this means everything falls into the PCI scope. And since vital data is passed and processed, we needed to make it as an integration, this integration to make a part of our PADSS certified application X Payments that integrates with X-Cart 4 and X-Cart 5. So I'm launching screen share right now. I hope it will work this time for me. Fortunately, last time when we were testing our, it says connection problem. Sorry about that. So I won't be able to share the screen. So let me just tell a few words how it is integrated then. And in X Payments, you go into shop configuration area. And when you configure your shop, which you integrate with X Payments, you just specify Kount account details to use in order to fight fraud. And then you can either, after some orders are placed by your shoppers, you can either to see results of Kount verification inside X Payments admin backend for every payment you got there, or right inside X-Cart admin backend, when you go into order details, there is a special button called payment details that you need to press, and you'll get a pop-up window that will show you results of Kount verification. That will tell you about whether or not this order is fraudulent, and so you will be able to take next step after that. So basically, it's as you can see, it's very simple and straightforward. And since X Payments is already PADSS certified, you're absolutely PCI compliant and do not need to worry about that. I think that's it. If you have any other questions about this integration, I'll be happy to address them, but I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Alex. And if you have any questions, please send them to alliance@x-cart.com. I have sent the email address to the chat window. So even if the webinar is over, the question will be handled. We will get back to you and help to figure the questions out, either forward your questions to Kyle or handle them internally, depending on the type of a question.
So Ksenia, I see there was one more question here. You said, so how does Kount, how do we help our clients develop their strategy? Well, like I was saying, I pointed out earlier, we have a merchant services team that has 15+ years of experience in this industry, and that is their job. That's what they do, is they work with our merchants. They help them understand, what's going on, what kind of fraud strategy that they need to implement, and help them to actually determine that strategy to implement it. And we go through our merchants. I mean, there's no stone unturned. We do whatever is necessary and take as much time as necessary to work with them and understand their business practices and how to best move forward with the strategy and to catch the fraudsters and reduce their fraud. So yeah, and if there's no other questions, I didn't see any other questions here. Thanks again, everybody, for joining the call. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and I really look forward to speaking with some of you very soon, if not all of you. And thanks again to X-Cart for hosting this, and thanks.
Thank you, Kyle, for the presentation. Omar, thank you for questions.
Thanks, Omar.
And see you at the next webinars with X-Cart and Kount. Have a good day, guys. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Take care.